Emily was 40, married for 16 years, and living in a quiet cul-de-sac where nothing ever changed, especially her routine. She worked part-time at a local library, filled her afternoons with errands, and came home to a husband who rarely looked up from his laptop. David, a successful financial analyst, used to charm her with jokes and spontaneous weekend trips, but those days had faded into a blur of silence and polite nods. She didn't blame him entirely. Life, as everyone warned, got busy. Still, she couldn't shake the feeling that she had become invisible. One evening, the kitchen lights shorted out with a sharp pop. She told David twice. He said he'd handle it, but days passed and the room remained in shadows. Frustrated, she found a local electrician's number online and booked him without telling David. When Liam arrived the next morning, she noticed his eyes first. Direct, easy, young but not too young. He greeted her with a nod and a quiet smile, then got to work. Nothing dramatic. But the way he listened when she pointed things out, the way he glanced back when she walked away, it made her feel seen in a way she hadn't felt in years. Liam returned the next day to finish the job, and Emily greeted him with 2 mugs of coffee without overthinking it. Their small talk stretched further than necessary. Favorite movies, strange clients, the weather. She laughed without forcing it. When he mentioned how peaceful her home felt, she felt warmth rise in her chest. It had been so long since anyone complimented anything personal. She noticed how easily he filled the space, how comfortable he looked sitting across from her. That night, she stood in front of her mirror longer than usual. The next morning, she chose a blouse she hadn't worn in months, telling herself it was just because it was clean. David barely noticed anything different. He ate in silence, made a few remarks about work, then disappeared into his office again. Emily caught herself anticipating the sound of the doorbell. When Liam arrived, he commented casually on the aroma of the tea she had prepared. Their fingers brushed when passing a mug, and neither apologized. Later, lying in bed beside her husband, she stared at the ceiling and thought of that moment. It was a single touch, but it echoed louder than years of shared silence. Something had already shifted. The final visit felt different before it even began. Liam arrived late, hair damp from rain, eyes holding something unspoken. Emily opened the door without a word. He worked quietly and she watched him, not his hands or tools, but the calm ease he carried. When he finished and the lights flickered back on, he smiled faintly and said, "Told you I'd fix it." She responded with a soft thanks, but the space between them was too quiet. He didn't move to leave, and she didn't tell him to. He complimented her again, something simple like the way she arranged things. Her heart pounded harder than she wanted to admit. They stood still for too long. Then came the kiss. It wasn't impulsive or wild but deliberate. Her hands didn't tremble. When it deepened, she didn't pull away. For a moment, the silence in her life shattered. They didn't speak after. No promises, no drama. He left with a short nod, and she closed the door gently behind him. She didn't cry. She didn't feel proud. She felt real. Not young or reckless, just human. The light stayed on, steady and unblinking. She sat in that glow, knowing something irreversible had passed through her. Days moved on, but Emily didn't. She went through motions, meals, errands, polite nods at neighbors, but inside, something remained unsettled. David returned from a short trip and brought her a bottle of perfume she already had. She thanked him, and he smiled, thinking that was enough. He didn't notice the way she avoided his eyes, or how she lingered by the window after dark. A message from Liam came once. "Hope everything's working fine." She read it, stared at it, then deleted it without replying. The silence between her and David wasn't new, but now it felt heavier. One evening at a friend's dinner, someone joked about flirty handymen. Emily laughed with the rest, but her fingers clenched beneath the table. She had no plans to see Liam again. There was no secret romance, no second betrayal. Just the weight of a single chosen moment that wouldn't leave. She looked at David differently now. Not with hate, not even anger. Just awareness. Of how far they drifted. Of how much she wanted something real again. Sometimes at night she journaled. Not to confess, just to remember